how's it going? So normally we film these video blogs live in class, and we're usually covering some drill or exercise, and I try and explain why we're doing that exercise, whether it's for attribute development or whatever it is we're doing. This session is a little bit different because I wanted just to take some time to talk about something, and it's something that underpins a lot of the training that we do, but is not often discussed in videos. We do sort of talk about this in class, but it's something that's very difficult to put across through the drills that we do. So I wanted to spend just a little bit of time to explain it. And this really came about because of two things. One was a question, a very good question, that someone asked me at the recent Play Fight camp in Italy, and the question was, what's the best way for us to learn to be present and here in the moment? And the second thing that prompted this was a general observation as a teacher or even as a student in class. When the teacher is explaining something, you look around the room and you see maybe most people are watching the teacher and they're nodding, or some might be taking notes. And you have a look around and there may be one person who's a little bit like this. And the teacher finishes explaining the drill and everyone pairs up, and this person then says to the partner, what are we doing? In other words, that person is not here. They're not in the room at the time. And given also that our drill explanations are usually pretty short, because our drills are generally quite straightforward. It might be, you grab, you escape the grab, and then we just explain a little bit about try and keep your form, try and keep your posture, try and make sure your breathing is working and everything else. So these are not long, convoluted explanations that send people to sleep. But that person, for some reason, when that explanation is happening, is not present. So if they're not present, where are they? Well, there's two places that people go to: the past and the future. That person may be thinking, oh, that argument at work today, I really feel like my boss was really down on me, and that was... Or they may be thinking, oh, when I get home I think I'll have a cheese sandwich and I'll watch that film. In other words, they're not engaged in the present, they're in the past or the future. So the question is, how can we ensure that as much as possible we are in the here and now and experiencing and are aware of what is actually going on around us? So then the question is, why is this important? And some people might say it isn't important at all. And of course it's not compulsory. As I said in an earlier blog about tension and relaxation, you're perfectly free of going through your life using tension against everything and every situation, of toughing your way through, of smashing your way through every problem and situation. That's perfectly up to you. So in a similar vein, we can go through our whole lives not being present, but being in the future or in the past. That means, for example, we can let previous experiences mould us and shape us and define who we are. Or we can take steps to deal with the effects of those situations and their effects upon us. We can learn to let them go, to put them in the past where they belong and move on with our lives. And I'm not saying, by the way, that that is necessarily an easy thing, especially if they were particularly intense experiences. So that is something that may need a lot of work and a lot of help. But nonetheless, we don't have to carry that experience all the way through our lives and let it affect us in the present. On the other hand, if we're always living in the future, that pushes us towards anxiety, or in extreme cases, neurosis. Because now we're thinking about things and worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. What if this happens? What if that happens? Perhaps, what if someone says, what if, what if? Above all else, it causes stress. And as we know, stress, even low levels of stress over a sustained period of time, will deplete our immune system. They'll inhibit our awareness, our functionality and many other things as well. So there's a very good reason there for learning again to live here and now. Now this doesn't mean that you never think of anything that's happened to you or you never plan ahead for the future, because as humans that's impossible to do. What it means is you visit those places, you don't live there. The other thing is, if you are worrying about something in the future so much, you need to address the causes of that concern and see if you can take steps to remedy them. Can you do something to affect this situation? Can you do something that's going to change the outcome of this possible situation? If you can, then you need to put that into practice. If you can't, to a certain extent, you've got to stop worrying about it. If, on the other hand, I'm worried about the behaviour of a particular person towards me, and when I go to this place, this person is possibly going to do this or they're going to do that, then that's something maybe I can take some steps and actions to resolve. Maybe I don't go to that place. Maybe I speak to that person and tell them the effect that their behaviour is having on me. So there's options and steps I can take. But in order to do that, I need to get out of the future and into the present and deal with that. The same with things in the past. Growing up, we all have good and bad experiences, and as we go through life, we get the same good and bad experiences. At some point, we have to realise, as the old saying goes, pain is compulsory, but suffering is optional. So we can't change that experience, it's in the past. But what we can change is our outlook and our attitude towards it. So then the question is, how do we best make sure that we're experiencing the here and now? We are present in the moment. Well, this being Systema, of course, the first and probably easiest and best way is through the breathing. It might be circular breathing, burst breathing, you might work breath holds or ladders. Whichever method, the breathing is a very good way to bring our attention and focus back to here and now. It connects the inside state with the outside state very easily and very quickly. A second method, and one that's less popular, is to do some falls and rolls. So basically, if you've got the space, you just take some time to go to the floor, roll around a little and get back up again. This is a very good method because when you're doing this work, you kind of have to focus exactly on what you're doing. You can't absent-mindedly sort of fall over and be thinking about something else, or at least it's very difficult to. So that work, and especially if you're working it with another person throwing you, is a very good method of bringing you right here and now back into your body. Perhaps for that reason, or also because it can be quite physically demanding, I always find that type of work is the least popular in class, myself included. But it really is a very good method of bringing us straight back into the body, especially if you start upping the speed and working with a little more intensity. If you're working with a partner or a group, then there are other options as well. I've already mentioned the idea of someone throwing you rather than you going to the floor yourself. And of course in Systema, the most widely seen work of this nature is taking the strikes. Again, this is a whole big subject in itself, but one purpose of doing the strike training is to really bring you back into your body, to bring you here and now, to undergo this experience and to give you the tools to cope with the stress, not only the stress that it brings, but also the stress and tension that it can release. So this can be a very powerful exercise for learning to let go, because those bad experiences and emotions and pain and injuries are all stored within the muscles to various degrees and in various depths. And the strike, when done properly, helps you to connect to that inner tension and to release it. So this was something that we did a lot of at the Play Fight Camp. A lot of people were very interested in this work. I think one day I must have hit maybe 30 people in a row, but it's very encouraging to see people approaching this work with an attitude of understanding. They see that it's not about being tough and tensing this situation out. It's actually about connecting very deeply in some ways to your inner self at that precise moment in time and learning to release any tension that you don't need. So that is quite a brief explanation of what is a very deep subject, and of course the difficulty is once we start on one aspect of training in this way, it's like you get what seems like quite a small thread and you pull it and you pull it, and suddenly you realise there's a whole kind of bio-tapestry at the other end. Everything interweaves with everything else. But I hope this gives you some explanation as to what underpins a lot of the Systema training. And if nothing else, think about it in this way. If you are not here, you don't know what's going on. On an awareness level, if you're wandering around with your head in the phone or in the cloud, as you might say, your awareness is being reduced to virtually a thumbnail. So even in the broadest self-defense terms, that is not an ideal situation. And of course there are instances now of people being injured or even killed in London where they've got their head in the phone and they just step off the pavement into the road without even looking. They get hit by a bike or a car or something. That level of unawareness is quite staggering, because everyone knows that London streets are busy. This shouldn't be a surprise. So the fact that something can take all your attention and it's not bringing you into the here and now, that's putting you somewhere else, because you're messaging about something that's going to happen, or you're looking at a video clip of someone tripping over, right? Something that has happened, and then you trip over yourself. Hopefully someone else is filming it, and then the loop continues. But the point is, the less you are in the here and now, the less aware you are of your surroundings. Once you start exploring this training and working through the different levels and layers, you will be very surprised how much your awareness expands. And hopefully, if you've got these issues inside and you learn to bring them out and deal with them through this training, then you're going to feel so much better after as well. So that's it for now. I hope that wasn't too long a talk. We will be returning to some more physical action next time. By the way, if you do have any requests about topics you'd like to see, then please do let me know. You can comment in the space below, or you can get in touch. Our friends in Vietnam recently requested to see some work on locks, so that might be our next topic. Also, please do subscribe to the channel, and one other thing, I'll put a link in below. You can sign up to our mailing list and we'll regularly send you out articles and special offers on our downloads and books and all that kind of stuff. So, thanks again. Take care.